In the 3 or 4 centuries prior, most Muslim countries in Africa and Asia were colonized by England, France, the Netherlands, Belgium, Spain, and Portugal. Many Christian missionary colonizers tried to convert as many Muslims as possible, and all means were acceptable. They offered the population, generally very poor, medical treatment, clothing, food, and employment. However, only a small number of Muslims were converted. A small part of the elite converted to Christianity due to a prejudice that made them believe that Christianity would bring them closer to civilization and foster scientific progress. They had a misconception, as this progress only occurred in Europe after the separation of church and state. After World War II, many Muslims from Asia and Africa emigrated to the West as unskilled workers. This is how they came into contact with Christians. The students also played a very active role in the introduction of Islam.
Do you see any other reasons why these debates are happening much more often than before?
I believe that the gap between the two parties is narrowing as everyone becomes more tolerant. However, this does not prevent the fact that they are in competition to have as many converts as possible. I remember my Christian teacher who used to say, Muhammad, the impostor, the utopian, the epileptic. Nowadays, there are hardly any writers who describe Islam in such a way. As Muslims, we feel much closer to Christians than to Jews and infidels, as the Quran states in Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 82. You will certainly find that the Jews and the polytheists are the most ardent enemies of the believers, and those who say, we are Christians. This is because among them are priests and monks, that is, people entirely devoted to the service of God, just as Muslims are, and they do not swell with pride. Certain Christian churches have made enormous progress in recognizing for the first time in history that Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is a descendant of Ishmael through his second son Kedar. The Davis Bible Dictionary, 1980, sponsored by the Christian Education Council of the Presbyterian Church in the USA, mentions under the word Kedar a tribe descended from Ishmael, Genesis 25:13. The people of Kedar were Pliny's Tzedrai, and from their tribe ultimately emerged Muhammad. The International Standard Bible Encyclopedia states, of all the Ishmaelite tribes, Kedar is undoubtedly the most important, and for this reason the name has subsequently been used to describe all the wild tribes of the desert. It is through Kedar that Muslim genealogists trace Muhammad's lineage back to Ishmael. Similarly, the Smith Bible Dictionary, not wanting to lag behind others, states, Kedar, the second son of Ishmael, Genesis 25:13. Muhammad traces his lineage back to Abraham through the famous tribe of Quraysh, which finds its origin in Kedar. The Arabs in the Hejaz are called Beni Harb, which means men of war, and they have been Ishmaelites since their inception. Palgrave states that today their language is as pure as it was when the Quran was written in 610 AD and has remained unchanged for over 1200 years, a beautiful proof of the permanence of Eastern institutions. The major asset that Muslim immigrants have brought to the West is not their workforce, but rather Islam, which is currently taking root here. Many mosques and Islamic centers are being established, and many people are converting to Islam. I prefer to use the word reconvert instead of convert, because every human being is born in submission to God, that is to say, Islam. This is the nature of every newborn. It is the parents or the community that convert them to Judaism, Christianity, atheism, or other beliefs. This is also proof that Islam does not spread by the sword, but simply through the propagation of individuals or Muslim groups. We do not have special organized missions, as is the case with Christian missions.
If the three religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, claim to emanate from the same and unique creator, why do they differ? That's all for this video. Subscribe so you don't miss the next part, and ask your questions in the comments. We will respond with clear and straightforward evidence.